Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 11 of the Stage Racing Podcast. We got a full tilt going on today. We've got a lot to talk about, so stay tuned. All right, Cody. I guess let me formally introduce you. I'm going to start trying to do this on every episode now, in case we get some new people along the way. So, my name is Adam. I'm joined with my co-host Cody. Um, we're just two guys who love NASCAR, and so we welcome you to the Stage Racing Podcast. And coming off the off week for the Cup drivers, we got a lot to talk about. There's a lot that's happened over the last 2 weeks, but how are you doing, man?
Man, it's doing great. Just glad to have a week off and, kind of, get refreshed a little bit and, uh, do some things around the house and, you know, still
Yep.
doing the job search, but, that's a whole
Yeah.
nother topic. So,
Yeah. Good Easter weekend with your family.
yeah,
I'm
man,
glad there
it was,
wasn't a race, honestly, this year. I know they've been doing it in the evening, so it's not a huge deal. And I normally have Easter Monday off, so it wasn't huge. But just being able to just kind of sit back, relax, and just enjoy nothing really going on was nice. I still am an advocate that they should have Mother's Day and Father's Day off as well. I think we've talked about that on here before, if not in the
hmm
last episode. But yeah, but I'm with you. It was a good week off. Let me also
yeah,
address two things here. Let's start with you, folks. You might be wondering why Cody St. John here is wearing an East Carolina shirt. For those of y'all who know Cody, know he's a diehard UVA fan. But Cody, just real quick, tell everyone what the shirt's about there, because I know we have a
yeah.
few of our
So,
friends who are kind of wrapped into that who listen to this.
yeah, so for any of you guys that normally listen on the podcast, make sure you tune into the YouTube video this week, friends, because repping my national championship shirt here. So a little background on it. So we have an online dynasty for with some friends on college football 25. Of course, long awaited return of that. So uh, it's been going on since last July. So we're still a couple of us, only about three of us, are still really grinding, and everybody else kind of went upon their way. But I always said if I started with ECU, I was the only person left at their original school, and I told myself if I ever won a national title with them, that I was going to get a shirt. So I did. I went back to back. I'm actually going for my third, hopefully tonight against Josh Cox.
So
Shout out
that,
Josh Cox.
yeah, shout out Josh. So you got one shirt. You won two natties. If you win three, you need three ECU. You need a shirt for every year winning a natty, man. That's how it goes.
I don't know. Maybe I'll get a hat or something.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Amber's already pretty over the whole thing. The back of the shirt actually has my name on it.
Oh
Actually, has St. John
yes,
on it. So,
yes, I love it.
um,
So what do you need to do
so
for the next one? If you win tonight, okay, let's just say you win. If y'all play tonight or whenever you play,
you know,
I say you order another shirt, just one more shirt, but on the back you put the years of the Dynasty Championships that you won. I don't know what year y'all in. I think y'all are like 10 years from now. I know y'all been grinding for a while, but
yeah,
whatever those years are, let's just
it's
use
been a while.
25, 26, 27 as the example. It
Yeah,
needs to say St.
yeah,
John, and then under that, have the years, and
yeah.
just leave it at that.
I'll make sure to just for shout out to Brandon here. He'll get this point, but I'll make sure to put an asterisk beside this one if I do win, since it doesn't count since everybody dropped out. But
Hey, a win
so
is a win, man. A win is a win.
that's right.
So that's Cody's shirt. I am rocking the Ford Performance shirt. Got that as a freebie at Martinsville Speedway, and decided since the Fords won this weekend, or a Ford won the Cup race, I'd bust out the Ford Performance shirt tonight. So actually, a very comfortable shirt. Shout out to whoever the heck makes Ford's freebies here. One of the most comfortable shirts I've had in a while. So, all right, man, let's dive into it here. Stage one. So a lot of off-week news we had. Crew chief change and Rodney Childers left Spire. I don't really want to get into a whole lot of that. They cover that really well on Actions Detrimental and on Door Bumper Clear. Or so I listened to that one today. So if you want to hear more on that, go listen to them. They're way more in tune with that than the two of us could ever be. But let's talk about racing at the Rock, man. I didn't get to watch a whole lot of it. Seen some highlights. First off, the crowd, fantastic. I mean, they sold that thing to the brim. It was weird seeing the Rock without all the bleachers around it like it used to be. I'm sure there was probably some just taking some down to fill crowd. The demand wasn't there. It could have been some safety stuff, but it was a little weird. But hey, they showed out for what was there. Probably had the speedway thinking we might not should have took down all of these. I know you probably. I think you watched way more of it than I did. So, what'd you think of the Rockingham Xfinity race?
Yeah, no, I think the Xfinity and the truck race were both phenomenal. I mean, the whole highlight video NASCAR put out for the truck race. I didn't get to watch much of that. But then I watched a lot of the Xfinity race, and it was just really good racing. And I agree with you. I think, they're probably looking at it like, man, maybe we shouldn't have taken so many of these stands down. But first time for everything, and they're back there, so you're going to expect a good crowd, just like North Wilkesboro.
Mm-hmm.
So I think as they continue to do this, you'll probably see some fluctuation, but hopefully they continue to see a really good crowd. But the racing was great. I mean, I really thought, especially in the Xfinity car. I mean, we've talked about it endlessly, but the racing was just fantastic. You know, I, I mean, it's kind of what we always look for, and thank God that we're getting back to those grassroots a little bit.
Yeah, you talk about first time crowd and coming back and this and that, and then you also mentioned the grassroots. I think it's one of those you build it, they will come type things. Rockingham is, I mean, look, man, there's a reason that North Wilkesboro, Rockingham, some of these really grassroots tracks are successful as they are because they're right here, just close enough within driving distance to where your main NASCAR base is. I mean, Rockingham's not that far from Charlotte. It's not far here from Martinsville. You're right there in Carolina. It's a quick, easy day drive for the most part. You can get in, get out. The poor town of Rockingham is just not what it used to be. We drive through there going to the beach every now and then, and you can definitely tell that they lost racing for many years. But even then, man, bring it back. Yeah, I think I'll just end with this. What I saw it was great. I know some big media outlets are saying let's pump the brakes. Let's not say Cup needs to go back there yet. But I think it's something they need to shoot for. I really do think it's something they need to shoot for. And as many things as we have to say about the cars on certain tracks, this and the other, I do think the new next gen cars would perform pretty well at Rockingham. I do think it
Yeah,
would,
I'd
for
agree with
sure.
that. I would, at least before they, whatever they decide to do with this current gen car, I would love to see it on Rockingham just to see what it runs like.
Hmm.
'Cause I really, I don't want any what ifs.
Yep, exactly, exactly. So, well, let's keep it going on the off week here. We had some All Star race news. I don't want to talk about the format too much. I think the biggest thing that jumped out when you look at the format is the promoter caution that can happen anywhere between, I think it's lap 100 and
And
um,
220,
201 or something. Yeah, something like
yeah,
that. I,
I,
I get it
I,
to the extent of, I will say this. Let me defend it for a second. 2 summers ago, you and I were very invested in the SRX series, summer series that ESPN
mhm.
did, Tony Stewart and them did. I actually went to a race at New River Valley Speedway. Um, they would throw random cautions there when the cars got too spaced out to get them back together to get the action looking good because to an extent those cars you could struggle a little bit to pass in those cars, especially when they got strung out, and it worked pretty well, but they were only running what, 16 cars if that much in
Yeah,
those.
not many.
I don't remember it being a whole lot, so it kind of fit. This, you're going to tell SMI to just, hey, whenever you feel like it, let's just throw a caution. And a lot of people have NASCAR conspiracy theories, anyways. As they said on DVC, I was listening to it today. But Kyle Busch was one of the guests. They said they'd always throw one of these promoter cautions when Kyle Busch was leading or Junior was in the lucky dog position. So, um, but let's just say Denny Hamlin's in the lead. Denny Hamlin and SMI leadership don't have the greatest relationship. If you're curious what that's about, just give it an old Google of what Denny and Mr. Smith had a little back and forth the other year, and look that one up. So let's just say Denny's pulling away, and they throw a caution. Like what? I just don't get it, man. It just, I just don't get it. For your
My,
all-star race, we get gimmicky. Come on, man.
yeah, it's supposed to be, the best of the best. Just as it is in any other all-star format for any other sport. Um, but we're going to sit here and throw a random caution that no drivers know when it's going to come. Um, let's say you have two guys just battling it up there at the front, and you know, and all of a sudden, but the rest of the field's spaced out. Are they
Hmm.
going to throw it? Like, what if they don't throw it? Because they don't have to throw it either.
Oh,
So,
I thought they did. I think
uh,
they do have to throw it. From what I
do
understand, they
they?
do.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. At
So,
some point, they do. Yeah.
well, and that's like I said, I don't agree with it. As soon as I read the format, I was like totally against it. But I mean, I
So
can't defend it at all.
I will say too, and this is kind of across the board in all sports. All-star things just aren't hitting like they used to.
Mm-mm.
The Pro Bowl in the NFL is just a flag football
So,
game now. It's a joke. The NBA All-Star game is a joke. I think the NHL hit on something this year doing the little international tournament when they would normally do an All-Star, but that was fantastic. You brought
hmm
a huge new audience into hockey. I mean, heck, I've gotten back into hockey since that because it was great. But they're about the only ones who've hit on anything. I mean, you can talk about
MLB's not
soccer
doing
and
much.
MLS. I mean, not nobody. Look, I'm a soccer guy, but no one's watching the MLS. And that one's just so weird how they do that. They do. I know you probably don't even know because I know you probably don't follow MLS, but they do like MLS All Stars versus a club team from somewhere in Europe or something
hmm
like that. So it's just All Star games aren't what they used to be. And I think NASCAR is kind of feeling that some too, but that's also somewhat NASCAR's fault. I think they really COVID made them change some things with it, and so I think that was good. I'd still like them to bounce it around a little bit from different tracks, but man, the All Star race was pure when it was at Charlotte, and it was you come around that track wide open, flying into the pits for qualifying. You do a pit stop. There's no speed limit. And that's what, man, that format was undefeated. And why can't you do that on a short track? I don't know. Maybe there's no space in North Wilkesboro to get the cars out of the way while they're waiting, but I would love to see that come back. And then just race.
Yeah.
Just race. Don't give me gimmick stuff. I
Yep.
swear every year they change the formats. And the other thing is they wait until like a month before to announce it. Just give me the race.
Yep. Yep. No, I definitely think I always enjoyed watching the pit stops, because I mean the one year that I went to the All Star race, we got there early enough to watch that, and I just thought it was the coolest thing. Um, you
Because,
know,
man, I mean, them guys, I mean, they'd overshoot their stalls half the time because they're coming in there so daggone hot. It was great, man.
mhm.
It was great. It was fantastic. But here we are. So we'll see how that goes. But let's talk about this. The first thing that's been floating around is that a couple of months ago, NASCAR floated to the teams of doing a run what you brung situation at the track. And for those who don't know what that means, it's literally what it is. Like there's no rules. Whatever you want to do to the car, you do it. And when I first heard that the teams denied it, said no thank you, it was disappointing. However, listening to, and I texted you yesterday and I said, let's wait to film until today. Today is Tuesday. I said, because I want to listen to Denny's podcast and hear what he has to say about this. And he made it make a whole lot of sense. And I don't know if have you listened to it yet?
Mhm.
Okay. He said yes. He said, as him as the driver, he thought this would be awesome. But him as the owner, he had to step back and think about this. These guys are only given 7 cars in next gen, where they used to have 14 in the previous generation. So they're given 7 cars. Now there's no rules. So that means you're going to be getting in there, you're going to be messing with chassis, you know, um, you're going to be messing with all sorts of parts because it was just literally bring what you got, whatever you want to do. So there's 1 car in your rotation, gone. You're down to 6. All right. These cars are minimum $300,000, which remember, cost cutting, right? That's what NASCAR's been doing. So you're losing a car right there, right then and there. You're going to do all these changes. You're talking parts, you're talking labor, you know, for 2311 and for some of these other ones, they're going to need to use the CNC machines at some of these bigger shops. When it's all said and done, you're investing $1 million to $2 million as a team. And if your team wins, you only win $1 million because for whatever reason, that's still what the payout is for the All Star race with NASCAR. I don't understand why that is. That light bulb had never gone off in my head until I heard it today. And I'm like, that is kind of stupid that it's never changed to be more of a purse. Um, It just financially, it didn't make any sense. As disappointing as it is, as much as I think we could have learned something from it, we could have got something out of it to maybe fix short tracks. I get it. I get it. They got to make financial. And I know Gluck went on a huge rant, and I even told you, I was like, you know what, he's kind of right. And then I hear that, and I'm like, I see both
Hmm.
sides of it. Um, and it's like Denny said, the whole reason they're taking NASCAR to court right now is because they don't feel like they get paid enough from them. And I did hear on Door Bumper or DVC that NASCAR does a really good job of getting these teams to try things for them where NASCAR doesn't have to fit the bill. And it's just
Yeah,
another situation.
and
And
that's
NASCAR did a great job of painting it to where the teams are the bad people in this.
yeah, and that's kind of where I was gonna go. Was like I'm all for the bring your own equipment. I've been preaching it all since we started this podcast. It's exactly what I want. I mean, it's what I've been clamoring for. I know it's what a lot of other fans want.
Hmm.
I understand the owner side. I get that. But at the same time, we've heard him say, let us try something. Let us do
Hmm.
this. Like,
Hmm.
so, I fully support what Gluck said about, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Like, this is your opportunity. You're going to have to spend some money. But also on the flip side, I thought about this. I don't know, probably when the the rule changes for the All Star race come out. I was like, it's still $1 million. I remember talking to my wife about it. I said this thing's still $1 million. Like we should be up like with inflation, we
I
should
say
be up to like
inflation's hit
five.
everything but the All Star race.
Yeah, like purses at the Daytona 500 and other races are up. So why is the All Star race still $1 million? Like that should probably be like $5 million. I mean, I know that's an astronomical number, but we should probably at least be like 2.5.
Why don't you just make it
So
that is the whole purse? Take the whole purse up. Not just the winner gets a million, but take the
right,
whole
right,
purse
just
up.
take the whole
Increase
purse,
the whole
right.
purse up, and then when you distribute it the rest, it's
Hmm.
still gonna be worth winning. You know?
Yeah. So, but I also am in the mindset of NASCAR's pitching this idea. NASCAR should pay for half of it. Like, it's your sport. Like, if it's not for them, then you don't have a sport. So to
Hmm.
me, it's half on the owners, half on the brand, which is NASCAR. So
I,
that's
yeah.
that's where I'm at on this topic, and I
Hmm.
don't. You'd be
I
hard
think
pressed
they
to change my mind.
I think they could have met somewhere in the middle. And really, I think once this is all said and done, I think NASCAR knew that they would say no and wanted to put it out there to make it so they could say, "Hey, we tried,"
Because there's
but
been a
they could
lot
have
of
met
heat
in the
on them
middle.
this past month.
They could have met in the middle. They could have met in the middle and said, "Hey, you know what? Don't do anything to the chassis because we want you to be able to still use this car." Oh, in addition, Denny also said if they want a new car, they have to request it or they have to show that one's been
Hmm.
beaten up in the new rules. So, but anyways, just say simple things like, "We don't want you to mess with the chassis." Um, Maybe don't mess with the shocks, whatever it might be. But then say, "Okay, hey, we'll let you do this. We'll let you increase horsepower. Hey, let's increase horsepower for the All Star race. You can take the diffusers off. You can do a little bit to the
Hmm.
spoilers. That sort of thing, I think the owners would have been all over it. All over it,
Those
for
are
sure.
minimal changes. You're
Hmm.
not looking at, once you start going into the body and the chassis and, looking at, springs and, all those things, I mean, it does get pricey.
Hmm.
Especially when you're having to outfit it for a car that
You only use them
is,
once.
is well, and it's cookie cutter. Everything's already made like a Matchbox car for these cars. So when you're all of a sudden looking at wanting to create something different for it, that's gonna, it's like aftermarket sort of stuff. So like you're having to, custom fit those parts. And if you're having to custom fit anything, it's always going to cost you more money.
Yep. I think honestly at this point, like if NASCAR wants to fix these short track cars and all this, and I know we're going to get in a little bit because Sawyer said a little something today that's got people a little hot under the collar, but um, All Star race would have been a good chance. But honestly, at this point, man, can we please just tell these teams, hey, every team show up and don't just bring one car. Let's get a decent amount of guys on the track and let's do some actual testing on this thing and fix it. All right. Come on. Whether you go here to Martinsville, go to Richmond, whatever it is, go back to Bristol. Although I know Bristol's a little different, and for whatever reason, I heard Kyle Busch today, and I completely forgot about it. They run a high downforce package at Bristol. I don't know why, but anyways, I think just what sucks with the All Star race in general, and I'll close with this. And if you got anything else to add, feel free. Is we wanted more from the All-Star race before this car because the other cars on the intermediate tracks weren't there. And like we were sitting there thinking these short tracks would be great. I mean, you think of the first All-Star race they moved during COVID, we're still running the previous generation car. And it was good. And you and I have talked about this on here before. We just left there wanting more laps. But now it's like with the car that we got, can we just go back to Charlotte because it's going to be more entertaining than what we have now? It just sucks. It's like
Yeah.
we the balance is so off, and that's just such a on par thing for them to do.
I was gonna say I was gonna go back to one of our titles of one of our episodes, NASCAR gonna NASCAR.
Yeah, yeah, it is what it is. Well, let's move it on, and for those of y'all who don't know, go back and watch. I think it was like the second episode. We had a special guest, John Gruden, join us. And so when I get to that point, I'm going to let you hit it. All right. But or unless you want to hit it right off the bat, we can jump around a little bit here. We can go off our
Yeah.
notes some. You want to wait?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, you do
All
your
right.
thing.
All right. We'll wait. Well, let's just start here. Give me your overall thoughts on the Talladega race this weekend. Cup. Let's start with Cup. We're going to blend in Xfinity as we go.
I mean, the Cup race was kind of boring to be completely honest. It wasn't a lot going on. Um, we're gonna hit on this too, but early on, it's just been what prototypical super speedway racing has been, and that's 3 or 4 lanes, strictly for the gas mileage and it looks pretty, it looks fun,
But it's a
but
mirage.
they're just riding around, man. So it
Mm-hmm.
was really boring. And then at a finish, when you're just, we're going all out in the last 40 laps and they're just 2 lanes and they can't get out and pass. And it was really boring. I mean, I will say this. I'm very pleased that everybody managed to stay clean. There was never really a big one. So shout out to all the drivers that were able to do that. And that made it better because I was riding back home, listening to it on the radio, and I'm sitting there with like 3 laps to go, and I'm like, somebody's going to mess up. Like, it's
Well, I'm
coming.
glad you were,
And
first off, so I'm glad you listened to it on the radio and not watching it on TV. But and I've heard them say it, Denny and Kyle Busch both said it. The reason there really wasn't a big one is because everyone's learned now that there's no point in taking the risk. Because
Mhm.
what usually causes big ones is someone stepping out of line and trying to get a run. There's no run anymore. If you step out of line, there's nothing there. And people will ask, well, why were we getting four wide racing at the beginning of this thing and only two down the end? Well, you got it because of this. In the beginning of the race, the Fords spread out into 4 lanes and started saving fuel. So it looked cool. You thought, hey, man, that top line might get a run. That middle right line might get a run. That middle left line might get a run. That bottom one might get a run. Nothing was happening. They're just cruising. They're just cruising. Don't let them say otherwise. And that's why you saw when Toyotas were finally able to line it up, they hit the gas and said, deuces, see you guys later. They were never able to pull completely apart, which is what they wanted to do because I think they wanted to embarrass super speedways more than they already have. But you get to the end and it's double file because everyone knows at that point you got to go, you got to run full speed, and if you try another line, you're going nowhere. It sucks. It sucks, Cody.
Yep. Because you talk about when you're in the draft, you're running 195 plus. When a car steps out of the draft on its own, it's going to max out at 181. You're talking about a, 15, 14 mile an hour difference. The car dies.
It's
So
not like
why
it
would
used to be.
anybody, no.
And I've
So
said
why
this,
would
the
anybody
days,
step out?
yeah, the days of those, you think, and we're long gone from ever doing what Dale did, which shout out to Dale Earnhardt. Today's his
Happy
birthday.
birthday.
Rest in peace. But you're long gone going 38th to first in 2 laps. Those are gone. Those are gone. You
Yeah,
could
you
still
can't,
do it in the previous gen to an extent, but you
you,
cannot get the runs you used to get to create the momentum you need to step out and get around someone. You can't do it.
no,
You
you
cannot do
can't
it.
lay back anymore. Because before you used to be able to kind of lay back and create a run. Now you can't do that.
Mm-mm,
And,
mm-mm,
the leader at the time, back then, the leader was more at a disadvantage than an
mm-hmm,
advantage. And
mm-hmm.
so, but now the leader's at the complete advantage. The
Leader's
leader
a
has
complete,
100%.
complete advantage. And
Yep.
you look at Saturday, okay? Look at the Xfinity race. I didn't get to watch all of it, but I watched enough of it and watched the highlights. Man, gosh, here we are, another week. We're episode 11, and I swear every single week We're talking about how good these Xfinity cars are. We're not necessarily take the drivers out of the equation because what usually makes Xfinity races suck are the drivers acting like idiots. But the cars themselves, they are fantastic. Look, Denny said it on his podcast today. Definitely you need to go listen to it, Cody. He said right now, before he retires, he wants JGR to put him in an Xfinity car one more time on a super
Yep.
speedway. And this is a guy with 2 kids, one on the way, and he's willing to go out there and run 200 miles an hour in the chaos that is Xfinity just because those cars drive so well. He just wants to feel it one more time, man. Just one
Yep.
more time.
I I hope they can do that and get him in there this year just because I
I don't
think
think
he's.
it'll be this year. I think they've already got all
I
their stuff
doubt
planned
it.
out, but it's
But
coming.
my hope is if they could finagle something with
Mm-hmm.
somebody, Um, I mean, but that would be my hope because I think just having him
Here's my hope.
experience that would be
Here's
great.
my hope, and I think Denny could get enough guys to do it, is that not only Denny goes and races, he brings about
Oh,
3 or 4 old school super speedway drivers with him so they can just rub NASCAR's nose in it and just say, hey, look, this is what you could have. But how
yeah.
many more times do we have to say this, man? That's the next note I have on here. Why do we have to keep begging? God, do something, man. And I'm gonna go dark for those who are watching online here, but um, I mean, here's Sawyer's thing from today, and I haven't listened to the interview, and so I'm sure this is probably taken a little bit out of context. But here's the line: he said you had 67 lead changes amongst 23 different drivers. So when we look at all that, what are we trying to fix, bruh?
I,
Take it. I don't really have any
I,
words to say. It's a
just
this is
just
just
I mean how disconnected can you truly be? I mean that's where my mindset is when I read that earlier today. I said, you know, tell me you're not watching without telling me. Like tell me you don't want to believe what's
tell
on
me
the
you think
track
your
without
fans are
telling me.
tell me you think your fans are stupid without telling me.
Stupid. The thing is, and the funny thing is, he made it 2 weeks ago of, 2 or 3 weeks ago, he was like, we're definitely going to look at something. We're not letting this lay by the wayside. But then you get a week off and all of a sudden you're back to, there's no problem. Like,
Yeah.
come on, man.
Here's
Like,
here's here's
just
here's
own
why they liked it this weekend, right? They can say they had a bunch of lead changes and no one got hurt. No one flipped upside down. The 20 almost come off the ground in that one. But so at the end of the day, especially the last few super speedways, we've had cars going airborne and not as many lead changes. And the reason there were so many lead changes because they were running 4 wide for so long beginning, and there's a little bit of coming and going, but it's not much.
it.
We're talking very few seconds. But when you watch it, you're like, there's no way you can be satisfied with this. And it just, gosh, man, it hurts the heart. And I was thinking of it like this, and I was taking a shower before we decided to film tonight, and I was thinking of it while I was in there, and I was like, I wanted to see what the TV ratings were, and no more than I got on X right after that and saw that it was down 6%. Mind you, this is the last race on a um, basic network
Listen,
station until
yeah,
September, until NBC takes over. So but it's down 6%. But anyways, I say all that to say this: I look at it like this. They're going to say it was all these different lead changes. People are still tuning in. They always love touting the ratings and this, that, and the other. But that doesn't mean that people really necessarily like what they're seeing. They're going to watch because they like the sport. They like their driver. Let's relate this to you and I. You and I are big time college football fans. You pull for UVA, I pull for Virginia Tech. Let's call a spade a spade. In the last 10 to 12 years, these two programs have been god awful, really, when you look at it from a football side of things. Both of them have had a couple of years here and there that were pretty fun. Other than that, it's not good. But do you and I still do you go to Charlottesville when they have home games? Do I go to Blacksburg when they have games? Yes, we do. Do we turn on the TV and watch them when they're playing? Yes, we do. Does that mean that we're happy with what we're watching? Heck no. You and I both are texting all the time like, these coaches got to go. What is our athletic department doing? Whatever it is, we're on two different sides of the spectrum, but we're kind of the same. We're kind of that little Spider-Man meme going on back and forth pointing at each other. It's the same thing here. We love this sport. We're going to watch it if it's on TV. But that doesn't mean we're going to be happy with what we're watching. We
we're
want some
just hoping.
changes.
I think at this point we just tune in because we're hoping to see something we haven't seen, or we're hoping to maybe, like last year at Bristol, someone peed in the tire,
Yeah.
and it was like, okay, cool, we really got that. So I think honestly at this point it's like we're tuning in to see what might could actually happen
Hmm.
because you never know what you're going to miss, and
Hmm.
it's more of the what if factor for why we're still tuning in, and like you said, because we love the sport.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Anyways, I don't know. This is not going to be the last time we talk about these cars. The only good thing we got going for us, there's some mile and a halfs coming up. We'll get into next week's and the next stage, even though it's not my favorite, but there might be a little saving grace. Oh, that was the other thing I was going to say. The last four races in Gluck's Is This a Good Race poll have been under 51%. And I think it's the first time ever, if I'm not mistaken. Go ahead. Go ahead.
First time ever. So that in that Gluck's poll that the last four races have been under 51%. Martinsville being the highest at 50.9% for approval. So here's the appearance. So I'll tell you what, man, these polls here for the last four races, man, these ratings are falling like Shadur Sanders in the draft, man. I'll tell you what, it's not looking good. And I tell you, we don't want to end up with the Cleveland Browns.
Oh my gosh. Come on, man. Oh
So,
my gosh.
hey, we had to put it on the pod because the NFL draft was this past weekend.
Yes, I love it.
So,
I love it. I should have
but
known you were going to go the Shador route with it somewhere. I just did not think about it. I like that. I like that.
yeah,
Well, moving on, I think you might have one more appearance from Mr. Gruden here in a minute, but Joey Logano got a little hot under the collar there at the end of stage one. Was it stage one? Yeah. Or was it stage two?
yeah.
Anyways, in one, yeah, I think it was stage one.
Mhm.
Cindric pushed, pushed Bubba to the stage win according to Logano. That's the PG version, and we'll just leave it at that. If you want to go listen to it, look it up if you haven't heard it already. But I told you, I'm so sick of this, man. This whole manufacturing crap, and honestly, knowing how these cars drive, like Joey, chill out, man. Like, what do you want, Austin? Just completely lay off the gas so you can go win the stage? Honestly, that's what he was saying. Austin couldn't get behind him. Joey was stacked up with someone else, but I'm so sick of these manufacturers having to do this and that and the other. God, it's just sickening, man. Just go race. Like, honestly, just go race, man. But him being hot on the collar, you say fair or not? I say I get it to an extent, but dude, chill out. It's not that serious.
It's a stage, and I get their stage points for the the playoffs and everything, but it ain't worth getting that mad at your teammate for.
Hmm.
Especially on a recorded
Yeah, I think
line,
these
so to
guys
speak.
forget that everything they say nowadays is broadcasted to the world. So,
Yeah, yeah. Junior talked to Austin Cindric on his podcast about it. That was pretty interesting. So Austin wasn't super mad about it, but
I
he
mean,
said him and Joey talked about it. But I mean, what are you supposed to say?
it's an
So
awkward conversation
uh,
that didn't really need to happen at the end of the
no,
day.
and because Joey just needs to be happy that they made it through the stage without still being in the race. I
And
think if
they're
you went
and then
around.
and they finished the stage with excellent track position for the next one.
And I think, if you were to ask Ryan Blaney or, Christopher Bale or,
Brad
Brad
Keselowski.
Keselowski or any of those guys, like they'd have been like, oh yeah, I'd have been super thankful just to finish the segment. So,
Hmm.
um, yeah, Joey just wants to hear himself complain every week, and
Yeah.
that is what it is.
Denny said it best. He doesn't understand what it is with the Penske guys, but when they put a helmet on, they're completely different people. But Joey's Joey. He's kind of always been like that. So,
You
the other one I have here is Ross Chastain. Bro, what are you doing? Oh my God. Look, I'll say this. I don't know if the Toyotas and Hocevar were going to completely cycle back to the front, but that is a Bush League move that Chastain did. And oh my gosh, man. I don't understand. Like, I get why he did it, but dude, come on, man. He almost caused a lot of wrecked race cars. Yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know if you have anything to say about it. My thing is just
I,
like, come on, man.
I tell you what, man, that guy just hadn't smashed any watermelons. He's been smashing his head against a brick wall to make a move like that, man. I tell you what.
That's the
That guy
truth.
out there not knowing what he's doing. He's looking like he got CTE, man. So yeah, I don't know, man. Ross Chastain, I think he's just. I honestly feel like it was a little personal because it was the Toyotas because he just let Carson Hocevar just go right on by. And then, he kind of, and then I watched Denny's in-car camera on that one, and just how much he had to let out of the throttle not to run
Mm-hmm.
over Ross. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it was insane. And
Mm-hmm.
that just killed their momentum. I'm not going to say, like you said, I don't know that it would have really amounted to a win, but you take maybe like 3, 4 more positions that they would have got. And, you talk about riding behind Carson Hocevar. He finished 8th, so he would have finished 4th. So Denny finishes 5th, you're 6th.
Yep.
So, it just, oh, and also too, side note, Carson Hocevar has went from like 30th something in like 30th in points or something to now 20th in like 2 weeks.
He started
So
being more consistent, like we saw out of him toward the end of last year. He was
yeah,
one of those drivers I think we both said we wanted to watch this year, see how he did, and you're starting to see him click a little bit. Ty Gibbs as well. Both of them have kind of turned things around
hmm
slowly but surely. The question is, have they put
hmm
themselves in too big of a hole? And I think they may have, but they can crawl out of it. You just keep putting yourself up toward the front. You never know what's going to happen
that's
for
right.
sure. So next one I have here, Cindric and William Byron, Austin Cindric, William Byron. They are top class in next gen on super speedways. I don't know what it is about those guys. I think their teams have it figured out, but those two are at the front every time you turn around at
Yep.
Daytona or Talladega. And I guess you can
Yeah.
count Atlanta in it, and they're both usually kind of in the mix in Atlanta too, but they
Yeah.
figured it out. Whatever it is in cars that can't pass on these tracks, they figured it out.
Yeah. They managed to find and be patient enough to find their way to the front, whether that be through, pit strategy, working with the right people. And honestly too, I'm going to say this. I see a lot of those too, and I mean, I could go back and be proven wrong if I watch the races, but I see a lot of those two guys, like, they're willing to work with anybody,
Mm-hmm.
and the other people are also willing to work with them because I think they understand to the point of, yeah, hey, these two guys are going to be up near the front at the end of this
Mm-hmm.
thing. I need to stay hooked to them,
Yep,
and
for
that
sure.
helps them. That helps them too. So, no, I think they're the sort of cream of the crop that you want to say, especially Cindric, I think. Byron, of course, because he's won multiple times. But Cindric's just quietly just been going on about his thing, and so and shout
Yep.
out to Ryan Preece, even though I know we'll get into that later, that he got
Well, we're getting into
DQ'd.
that
But
next, but yeah, shout out to Ryan Preece.
yeah,
Had a great running going on until they were DQ'd. Logano's team, the 22 and the 60, were both DQ'd at the end of this race. Logano actually was missing a nut, which I don't know if you saw the tweet.
the ball. Yeah.
God, what team was it? Found it in their grill. Actually, I can't remember what team it was, but I saw the
Oh, I
tweet,
didn't
and
see
they
that.
like tweeted was like, "Hey, I think you're missing this," and it was literally the nut they were missing stuck in the grill.
Shoot.
So they're not supposed to come loose. Basically, what it is parts on this car now. The NASCAR set the rule. Give NASCAR credit. They are sticking to their guns with teams not following these rules. That's one advantage of having a cookie cutter car. Um, and they didn't. Priest, his team tried a little something. I think they had an extra something in their spoiler that wasn't supposed to
Mm-mm.
be there. Um, yeah, teams keep trying things like that. Like at this point, you got to know. Like, look, I understand these are race car teams. They're race car drivers. They're always looking for that advantage. Cheating. They're always looking to cheat. That's what they do. That's what they've
Hey,
always done. That's what this
if you
sport's
ain't
always been
cheating, you
about.
ain't trying.
Exactly. But at this point, man, you got to figure it out. Like you got to understand this just isn't work. It's not going to be. But I'm going to tell you why they keep doing it. They keep doing it because the point penalties for it can be a little bit significant. But at the end of the day, you're thinking Logano and Priest are both probably going to win a race this year. It doesn't really matter. They're in the playoffs. So
Correct.
this format that we've
Correct.
created, like, you know what? Let's go try it, see if we get caught, and whatever. If we don't, we don't. If we do,
Well,
we do. We just go out and win a race at some point.
and how many times have we seen somebody win a race and then, bump that car into the wall during the victory lap?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, I, you know,
yeah.
so
Anyways, let's wrap up Talladega about this. Fox, this is getting out of control. Fox, Fox. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. And they've fallen hard. I know you were listening to the radio. I said that earlier. You weren't watching on TV. Cody, they took a commercial break with 15 to go that lasted from lap 15 to almost lap 12, which at Dega, you're talking 3 or 4 minute commercial.
yeah,
Then with 7 or 8 to go, they went to commercial again with
it was
under
9.
10
Yep.
laps to go in the race. They went to commercial. Yes, they did side by side. I don't care. when you're under 10 laps to go, really when you're under 25, you riding this thing to the end. You're riding this.
We
Now, I know
used
you got
to.
to make money, but you're riding this thing to the end. We
Yep.
did
It was
not get them
between.
back until 5 laps to go.
Yep.
And the sleepiness in the booth with 5 to go. Now, I know the racing wasn't that good, but NBC would have made it seem like the best thing was going on. And I'm sure MRN had you on the edge of your seat driving down the road, making it seem like something crazy is going on, even though it wasn't.
I tell you what, boy, I was up on that wheel coming down 29. I was like,
You
oh
was
man,
thinking
I
you was
felt
in
like
the
I was
draft
at
at
10.
that point.
I was, man. I could see the air, baby. But no, I mean, it was from I called up on and I went back and watched the broadcast afterwards so we could talk. Sorry, I knew we were going to talk about it this week. I went back and watched the broadcast from laps 9 to laps 5. You were in that last commercial break, which is a insane travesty. Like that's stuff we've never even seen before,
And the other
especially at
thing too,
Talladega.
Cody, is that's usually when the big one happens. That's
Yeah,
usually
every
when
time.
someone does something stupid.
Every time. That's usually like the big one, and then you got like the second big one at like 3,
Mm-hmm.
after the caution. But also too, I am gonna like to your point about Mike Joy and Clint and Kevin in the booth kind of being lethargic. I'm gonna give them a little bit of a break here because if you're having to go to like 3 sets of commercial breaks within the last 15,
Oh yeah,
20
no, for sure,
laps,
for sure. You're
you can't
losing.
keep,
You're losing it.
yeah,
Yeah, no,
you're
I'm with you. I
losing
think
that
that's what I was
feel.
alluding. Yeah,
So,
that's what I was
so
alluding to.
I'm gonna give them a little bit of a break on that one. It wasn't all their fault. Um, and of course, we've talked about Mike. He's not in his prime anymore. He's kind
Mm-mm.
of over the hill. Every so often you'll get a good call from him, but the call to the line wasn't terrible. Definitely nowhere close to his best, but
And then, have you
um,
seen the tweet that compared the last few laps of the Xfinity to the Cup?
the side by side.
And
Hmm.
everyone was thinking, look at it from a racing standpoint. Now,
Hmm.
look at it that first time you watch it, look how much better the racing is in Xfinity and Cup.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then when you look at it again with both audios playing, it's pretty easy to pick up which audio is way more interesting than the other.
Yep. Oh, 100%. But also too, it's because of the product
The
that's
product
put
is
out,
better,
and
but the
I'm
CW
gonna.
has been fantastic.
Oh, it's been phenomenal. I am gonna say this too, and I made the comment about Mike Joy being a little over the hill and stuff. But let's be honest here. Like I listened to him a little bit on Kevin Harvick's podcast this week, because that's really good
I
listening
need to
for
go
anybody
back
that
and listen
listens.
to that one. I haven't had a chance
Listen
to
to
really
Mike.
listen to
Listen
it.
to Mike Joy. Listen to Mike Joy because he's still like he's got a lot of good things that he really still wants to see this sport grow and
Mm-hmm.
um but like he's there to their credit, Kevin and Clint, as much as I don't like Clint and Mike, um they're working with this product.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the calls and it's kind of the same. Like we go to intermediate tracks, the calls are pretty decent, for the most part. The Fox itself is terrible, but the calls itself are pretty decent. But when you get to that super speedway and the short track racing, they're what do they have to call? A bunch of
Yeah,
junk,
I do agree with
yeah,
you, but I also
you know.
listen when we go to races and we listen to MRN. Oh my gosh, man! And
It-
Denny's alluded to this on his podcast, and I completely agree. If you watch an F1 race, we've talked about how much they don't really pass all that much, but listen to the
Mhm.
commentators on the F1 race.
Oh, it's
You
perfect.
think
It's
the world's
perfect.
coming to an end, and we're trying to figure out a way to save it. MRN does a really good job with that too. Gosh, man, MRN
MRN
has you on
is
the edge of your seat. They're sitting there going, "Oh, these guys are only one car length apart," and you look out there and it seems bigger, but they're captivating, and it's just mainly because radio guys have to bring so much to life for you to
hmm
envision it when you're listening to the radio. Man, I just wish they put radio guys on TV. Let them do what they normally do, but simultaneously broadcast the
the
audio on the
radio.
radio and the TV. And I know people say, well, you can do that, but with streaming services and this, that, and the other, to get it to match up these days, it's a pain in the rear. All right, let's
Oh
call a
yeah, and
spade a spade.
the other
Man, it would be
aspect is
so
all the
good.
camera work too.
Yeah, yeah.
As fast as the radio guys are talking, us sitting in the stands, it's like, oh, okay, let me go find John. Yeah, they're talking
Mm-hmm,
about, oh, the 21's making moves, so we're going and looking for the 21. Well,
mm-hmm.
yeah, sure, the camera can pan too, but as soon as they talk about the 21, there's a lead change, and of course,
Yeah.
cameras can change pretty quick. I mean, don't get me wrong, but it's just a lot of work for those guys. And we see that like Fox doesn't even use as many cameras as they used to. And that's part of their
Yeah, but you can
problem.
guarantee they're gonna have one close to the ground to get them cars going by real quick.
I mean, we did say at the beginning, the pilot episode of this podcast, I think we did. I don't know. I could be wrong. I have to go back and
We
listen
like
to
the
it. But
gopher cam. We remember the gopher cam,
the digger cam, the
the
digger
digger
cam,
cam. But let's not. We don't have to use it as much, man. Let Digger make his appearance and keep
No,
it going. The digger
yeah,
cam was only good when they would simultaneously do it with crank it up, man. That's when it gets
crank
all
it
good.
up. That's right.
Yep,
That's
you
right.
feel me. You feel me. All right, let's
Yeah.
put a wrap on stage two here. There is one more tweet I wanted to read out. Let me see if I can pull that one back. Um, Here, since we were talking about the Xfinity race and CW, and it made me think of it. They had 1,260,000 total viewers for the Xfinity race at Talladega on Saturday. That is 20% more than what they had last week at Rockingham, and it is the first time since 2017 that the first 11 races of the year have all hit over 1 million viewers for Xfinity. NASCAR, you talk about your ratings and how you judge things on your ratings. Um, Pay attention to what's going on at the series behind your big one.
Yep.
The numbers don't lie. The numbers don't lie.
I think it's also time too, going back to part of the segment, part one of the first segment or early in the second segment, we talked about, getting some of these Cup Series guys in there. That's just going to boost those ratings too. And they've got
Just
to
put
do
them
a
in these
better,
cars, man. Just put them in these
put them in
cars.
there and advertise it too. That's
Yeah.
another thing too. And if you go back and listen to Mike Joy on Kevin Harvick's podcast, not to, get off on a tangent here, or digress, but yeah, he talks about, you remember this when me and you were growing up, when we were all growing up, you go into the grocery store, you see cardboard cutouts of NASCAR drivers, with their sponsors, you see, Coca-Cola, you see the Cheerios, you see, Interstate
You don't
Batteries, you see a
see
cutout of Bobby
squat
Labonte,
anymore unless
you
it's
don't see
race
any
week.
of that. You don't see any of that, and you don't even really see it when it's race week. Like you see the
You do.
bare
Not
minimum,
here. You see it,
you see the bare
but
minimum,
it's
and
not what it
like
used to be.
no, and so Mike Joy goes on about that, about how to get this next generation involved because now like if you really think about it, the bulk of the NASCAR generation is sort of like aging out, and
But you
so
you want to know why, Cody, that why I think a big factor to that is why you don't see that is because even though they say the cost cutting and this, that, and the other, the cost is going up. You're not getting the primary sponsors that you used to. You're
nope,
getting guys only on for 3 or 4 races. They're
hmm
already paying enough to be on those cars. You think they're going to spend their marketing dollars even more to
nope,
put a cardboard cutout of Noah Grexkin at Rule King?
yeah,
No, because Rule King's only on his car for 1 or 2 races. It's not worth it.
yeah,
It's not worth
yeah.
it to him. So that's
Well, and that's
why.
why I made the point about
Yeah,
FedEx or you saw Jimmy Johnson cut out at Lowe's. You
yeah,
saw at auto parts places you saw a cutout of Bobby Labonte,
yep,
or you saw them on the Coke machines. We talked about the old school vending machines or the drink
yep,
machines. There's
yep.
so and that's the thing too. But I mean, like Coca-Cola is still a major sponsor in NASCAR. They could still put NASCAR drivers on Coke
They could.
machines,
They could.
but they don't.
They don't. And some of that too is NASCAR doesn't do a really good job of letting their main drivers be stars, be heroes,
And
be
like I said,
heels. Lean into it, man. Lean
yep.
into it. Let them be heroes. Let them be heels. Heck, I'm seeing John Cena in a freaking like eye drop commercial the other day or something like that. They're playing his theme song, man. Come on, man. We gotta do better. If WWE is doing stuff like that, come on, man. We gotta do better. We gotta do better. But I don't know. It's funny you bring that up. We were, taking my son to a soccer game tonight. We're riding down the road, and FedEx truck is in front of us, and he starts asking, they're not with Denny anymore, and I'm like, no. And then he starts asking about sponsorships and how it works and all that. So I'm trying to explain it the best I can to a 6-year-old kid, and I feel like I did a pretty good job with it. But I'm making him understand how it works. And then I said, "Do you understand how it works?" And he's like, "Yes." And I was like, and then my next question to him was, "Okay, knowing how expensive it is, do you understand maybe why FedEx doesn't do it anymore?" And he looks at me and goes, "Yeah, I get it." And I'm like, all right, if a 6-year-old can figure this out, that why it's not reasonable to them anymore, why the heck can't we figure it out from the top to actually work on some cost cutting mechanisms and make it more feasible for sponsors to get in where they can actually attach themselves to drivers more
Yep.
consistently? Um, Whatever. Now you see sponsorships are more aligned with teams than they are with drivers now. That's a
Yep.
big, big thing. Um,
Yep.
let's move it on. Let's wrap this up. We won't spend too much time on this. Final stage here's Texas is next. I've made my feelings known about Texas multiple times on here. Um, yes, it's an intermediate track, which is what we need right now, but this track races weird with these cars. It races weird with everything. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Take a bulldozer to that place, make it a distant memory. I never want to see it again. I hate this track, mainly because it's so big for no darn reason. You feel like you would have multiple grooves, but you don't. And then there's like this random dip in turn two. When you come out of turn four, it kind of just duck hooks out of four, almost like they were designing the track and realized, oh crap, this is supposed to be a mile and a half. We've run out of room. Let's just turn the bulldozer 90 degrees to the left right here and finish this thing off. I don't know how you feel about Texas. I hate it. I'm still going to watch the race. Hopefully it'll be interesting, but this track needs to go, man. Get rid of it and bring back Rockingham. Come on.
Yeah, I used to really enjoy Texas back in the day. It's produced a lot of good races. So I don't know. I'm a little partial to it. I think it's not a good track now. I mean, it's definitely not. There's been no good racing here
And
in
when they built
quite
it,
some time.
gosh, man, they went with the everything's bigger in Texas type feel with it, and they've
They
never
did.
adjusted the stands for it, and it just always looks like there's no one there because they have all these seats that they're not going to get rid of because if you look above the seats, what's at the top of every single grandstand at Texas? A suite.
Sweet. Yeah.
Sweet. And where do they make money off tickets? They don't make money off Jimmy's and Joe's sitting in the stands. I mean,
Nope.
me and you, they're making money off corporate suites. That's where they
Yeah.
make their money off. If you're talking about money off tickets, now I could do a whole other podcast of where these tracks are actually getting their money, but yeah. So I don't know. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. But yeah, I mean, if they went ahead and cut it out, I probably wouldn't feel any way. It's a little unfortunate that we lost Auto Club, but we kept Texas.
Yeah,
So
NASCAR
uh,
sacrificed one of their tracks to keep a semi track. That makes a whole lot of sense. But
of course.
the money they were getting for the land at Auto Club, rest in peace to Auto
Yeah,
Club,
R.I.P.
I
baby.
guess
So
was worth it. But wonder
yeah,
who that
I
money's going
mean,
to.
I'm intrigued to watch it just to see. Hope, like I said earlier, hopefully we'll see something we ain't seen before. Hopefully, somebody will pee in the tire formula or somebody will pee in some
Who
formula
knows,
and
man?
we'll get a good race. But
It's just been a one groove track here recently, and that's
it
the bottom.
has, it
Yep.
has. So we'll see what happens. I mean, if anybody's going to run a top group somewhere, it's going to be Kyle Larson. So
Yeah. Well, who do you like this weekend? Who do you like?
um, I like Kyle Larson personally. I think he's going to be pretty good there. Um, I haven't given it a lot of thought. I really would like. I mean, I'm partial here, but somebody that needs to get going is Chase Elliott.
I was going to
Like
say that's who I like this week. Yeah,
he's got
Larson
to get
usually runs
going.
good here, but if you notice recently, like Larson at Texas in particular is one of those places where like he runs good and then something stupid happens. He
Hmm.
has like that one little tiny mental lapse that you see with Larson every once in a while. But yeah, I'm with you. Chase has got to get going a little bit, and he usually runs pretty well at Texas. So I'd be
He's
interested to
running
see
the.
how his practice speeds go and everything. But yeah, just blindly picking, I like Chase this weekend.
Did you see the scheme he's running this week?
I did not. Did
He's
not.
running the 100 year anniversary of Napa Auto Parts.
Oh,
So
nice. Okay.
it's like a gold. It's pretty cool. They put out a whole little thing for it on Instagram today, and the suit and the helmet he has is pretty sick.
Sweet.
The paint scheme's okay. I
Yeah.
wasn't like the helmet's sweet, but yeah, they're running that this weekend, so I wouldn't mind. Like I said, I'm a little biased, but wouldn't mind seeing him back in victory lane.
Yeah, for
Also,
sure.
too, don't put it past to see Willie B up here running. I think
Yeah,
he's
this kind of
he's
seems to
been
be a Hendrick
close.
track. This is
Yeah,
kind of a Hendrick track. Yep.
watch
Yep.
Alex Bowman will probably win.
Yeah, you're
I
probably right.
mean,
You're
so.
probably right.
Also, too, I mean, I know I'm giving just tons of names right now, but Bubba Wallace is another one. Like
He's been
he's
so
consistently
consistent.
right there, and I'm just there. It's gonna break soon. The dam's gonna break soon,
We talked
and
at
I
the beginning
mean,
of the year
we
of
did,
can he
we
take that
did.
next step, and so far he's doing it. He hasn't won a race yet, but he has been Mr. Consistent this year for
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, when he reeled off three straight top threes, at I think it was like I know it was Martinsville and the two races prior to that, but
Well,
um,
sorry.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, I know I threw out like four names there, but I mean, I think any of those guys could probably win.
Hey,
I expect it to be a
you got
fairly
four
big game
names.
this
You
week.
need five for your fantasy, so you just got a couple more to throw in there. I guess six with the
I
garage,
can't.
but
Hey, and also too, I just, I should have won the week, but thanks Ryan
you had
Preach for
it to
getting
the DQ.
disqualified.
Yep.
But that lineup that I had, I was really surprised that I won with that lineup because I was like, you know what, I don't want to use anybody of significance here. Just gonna go out here and hope for the best. And sure as the world, I would have won the week, but
Yep.
it is what it is.
Daggone DQs, man. All right, everyone, but I think that's going to wrap it up. Cody, appreciate it as always, man. And we will see you guys next week. We'll be recapping Texas. Thank you for tuning in.